And we're back. Did you think that G.I. Joeberg was going on hiatus because I was becoming morbidly depressed with the world and stuff? Well, the thing about the best toy line in the world is that it does have a way of worming its way back into your life, even when things aren't so rosy. My name is Steve. I'm joined by my buddy Paul, and it's time for episode 184. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Steve. And welcome to 2021.
I'd love to say that this is the first take of that intro, but the cobwebs are real, my friend. And it's not just because it's 7 a.m. here in sunny Queensland.
Yeah. I've been lucky. I've been staying nimble with the live streams. But yeah.
You have indeed. Doing the yeoman's work, as Chief might say. He's going to be mentioned later on in this podcast. But, man, where do we even begin? New shit?
New shit, always.
Yes! G.I. Joeberg has new shit. Yeah, it's a nice little bit of swag I'm sure we've both accumulated in the intervening weeks. Has it been weeks? It's been months. Yep, we spoke last in December of 2020. Mm-hmm. So lead the charge, Paul, my man. What have you got staring you down on your toy desk?
Oh, I've got some cool stuff. But because it's G.I. Joeberg, I'm going to focus on the G.I. Joe stuff that I've got staring me down. So I have finally got my hands on a Cobra interrogator. And I feel like I've mentioned this already, but if I haven't, I've got an interrogator. Thanks to Steve.
With weapon?
With the weapon, and it's got all its little claw thingies. They're still on. They're not broken off or anything. So very cool. And it's got a stand. And the file card, which is awesome. And he is such a and it made such an impression on me that I had to shoehorn it into well, maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. I'm going to leave you folks hanging. We're definitely going to come back to that, I promise you. So that's one.
When you do shit like that, you remind me of someone else on the show.
No, that's true. That's true. But I don't want to be a blocker because I've also got blocker. I picked him up at a toy museum here in sunny South Africa in an area known as Lone Hill. A guy called Ross Hardenett has got a fantastic toy museum called Articulated Collectibles, and he invited me over because his words, not mine. I'm the VIP guest he hasn't had there yet, and I'm the person he most wants to come have a look at it. So, Ross, if you're listening to this, thank you, man. That's really cool of you. And yeah, it was quite an awesome experience. Wow, that guy's got a lot of toys.
May I just say that Ross is doing the thing that all our mothers expected us to do when they saw how groaning our toy collection was getting? Like, why don't you start a toy museum? It's like, yeah, okay. Charge people money to see my stuff. I don't know. No money in the world can bring back a defiant gantry door that, I don't know, someone has accidentally leaned on. Yeah. No amount of signs saying "do not touch" going to deter, I suppose, a 4-year-old. I mean, you want their money, right?
Right. But here's the thing: there's an interesting catch to his museum in that he also sells vintage toys there. So it's not just a place to come and check them out. It's a place where if you see a really cool vintage Ninja Turtle mint on card or something, and you really want it, well, he's got a few there for sale, and he really has amassed quite the collection. I mean, everything from Ninja Turtles to Dino Riders, with a bit of a sidestep into like the real Ghostbusters and
a smattering.
Yeah, I would say there's more real Ghostbusters than there is a smattering of Crash Test Dummies. Do you remember that toy line?
Yeah, man. I could never dip my toes into that because, obviously the figures were Crash Test Dummies, and they really leaned into the gimmick. As gimmicky as Toy Biz Marvel figures were, at least there was an action figure underneath that. But having a guy who just kind of shattered into 5 pieces is less toy and more gimmick,
Yeah, the adventure is actually finding its parts. you know, and
Yeah,
and the real fun is trying to
'cause
make
that's
it
fun.
stick, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he's got some of those. He had some Toxic Avengers, which was great to see in card on card again. They just it's such a crazy toy line that, and I love Playmates for having done that line. Another one that really tugged at the heartstrings was seeing some, and you mentioned it, Toy Biz X-Men. He had a Gambit and a Wolverine, and both of those figures hold quite a strong
Hang on,
nostalgic
Paul.
value.
Don't you mean Wolverine?
Wolverine.
Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you get when you're introduced to superheroes' names through the backs of action figure cards.
And
Yep.
Steve, you know, for a second there, I thought you were ripping me off. I mean, you were, but for a second there, I thought you were ripping me off because maybe I had mentioned it in a former podcast about Toy Biz, because we did do one of those. And then you just mentioned what you mentioned, and now I've realized that I've just let the game out. But yes, I totally called him Wolverine when I was a kid, and I was so ripped off about it by like older kids. And then only when the cartoon came out did I learn it's Wolverine, because that was my first Toy Biz figure. Was of course that blue and yellow with the black stripes Wolverine with the claws that you could put in and they popped out, but they didn't really stick in. They just kind of went schnicket, and then you could like do the waist twist attack. I've actually still got that toy, and it corresponded with the Sabretooth figure from the same line. So anyway,
Yes,
yeah,
with the slash, battle
across
damage.
the chest, or the tummy, So he had those, and that brought a little bit of a nostalgic tear to my eye, which I quickly wiped away because guys. And yeah, no, that was great. But anyway, long story
Don't cry
short,
in front of your toy collector friend, okay?
exactly. Yeah, I gotta be cool. But it was great, man. And then it caught my eye. It's orange and yellow. It's a septic tank. That caught my eye. I was like, wow, he's got some GI Joe stuff. And yeah, he did. He had some boxed Tiger Force stuff. I think he had a boxed Pulverizer, if memory serves, as well.
Oh,
And it
of
was great to
course.
see that. He had some carded Taiwanese GI Joes as well, which was very interesting to see. And he also had some one carded Japanese figure and a few carded Action Force GI Joes, like Battle Force and that kind of thing. But he did have an open blocker, which he was actually keeping there as a gift for me, which was really, really cool. So I now got blocker. So my Battle Force 2000 collection is growing slowly, and I have, and it's interesting how that like line, that like little sub team is crawling into my life, because
Oh dear.
they're creeping up on me.
I can't decide if Bart's love for the Battle Force 2000 is genuine or if he does it just to troll everybody, because we all know that your buddy, my buddy Bart, he's got a sense of humor about this stuff.
He really
He
does.
always protests that he loves the Battle Force 2000 as his favorite subgroup. But then in our big collaborative playmotion effort of last year, Element X, he murdered every single one of those guys brutally in slow motion.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Anyone who is scratching their heads, check out the YouTube channel Element X. I imagine it's, what is it, like a 40-minute clip? It would probably be in the last 30 minutes of it, if memory serves.
I think it's 30 minutes in total, if memory serves. But
Then it would be in the last 20 or so.
20 minutes. Yeah,
Just go for a scrub, and if you see a grown man on his grass pushing a bunch of Battle Force 2000 vehicles in a V formation, you've come to the right place. Enjoy the carnage.
Yeah, and Bod's the man to do that. And then another little thing, I suppose they aren't little, but I want to mention them anyway because they're such great toys and they fill me with so much joy, is the Super 7 Ninja Turtles line, or the Super 7 Ultimates Ninja Turtles, of which I recently acquired a Leonardo, Bebop, and a Shredder after promising myself that I would only get Raphael. And there is a story there. I sat in the car, and I just come back from the toy museum, and I sat in the car with Celia. We were just about to walk into the mall, and just as I just kept having this thing that Ross said to me. He said, "Oh, you should give Seth a shot. He's got a Super 7 Ultimates Leonardo and Mutagen Man." And I was like, okay, I wonder. But he said, yeah, you better call him quick. He might not have stock anymore. I mean, he only told me this like 3 or 4 days ago. So I'm like, interesting. And I said to Celia, I was like, okay, if I send him a message and he's got the turtles figure, if he's got Leonardo, then I'm taking the plunge. Then I'm going to have to get all 4 of the turtles.
We
And
always
she's
make
like,
these little bargains with ourselves, don't we? It's like,
right?
if this
Yeah.
condition is met, then all of a sudden the money doesn't matter anymore.
No,
I'm
there we
getting it.
go.
It's like a
Yeah,
sign. I
it's a
mean,
sign.
I'm not big on kind of, I don't know, belief in higher powers, but like, yeah, I also believe that sometimes when everything points towards getting a toy, you'd be a fool to ignore them.
There you go, right? And I looked at her and she was like, you have my blessing. And now I have Leonardo, Bebop, and
Oof.
Shredder.
Well,
So,
then
oof. And they had him in stock. So,
you were
bang.
double covered. You had the Mrs. Blessing. How easy
Yeah.
is it to get that though? Is she still trying to impress you, or do you sometimes feel the brakes being applied?
Oh, no. Actually, I got to say, Celia is super, super supportive. She's got like one really important rule because we've been talking about getting a place together this year. And, of course, I know you're exactly the same as I am, but there's a toy collection that comes with this relationship.
Exactly the same as
Exactly.
you are. Well, it's anybody's guess who the truly more handsome man is between us, Paul.
Steve, don't knock yourself down, man. You're pretty good looking yourself. I mean, it's
Well,
okay.
well, then we are not the same, are we? Should we put it to a listener vote?
No, no, God, no. I mean, do you want everybody to tell you you win? Because you win. He's an actor, ladies and gentlemen.
Former actor. No, I'm just a supermarket bitch.
Yeah, but just
Anyway,
remember,
moving on.
it's not like you're the tree in the school play. You know what I mean? Anyway.
I ticked that box too, by the way.
All
My
right.
first,
Okay.
my first nativity play, I was a mouse.
Crazy, man.
I had the following line, which wasn't even a full sentence. It was kind of tacked onto the end of someone else's line. It's Mary and Joseph.
Wow.
Exclamation point. Hey.
Yeah. Well, some directors just can't see the bigger picture. Hey. Anyway.
Damn those nativity play directors.
Yeah, they killing
Poor,
my dreams, man.
those poor, stressed out kindergarten teachers. Ay, ay, ay. Do
Um,
better, damn it.
so yeah, so we were chatting about getting a place, and she knows that there's this collection, and that I'm into toys, and there's also the gaming side of things as well. And it sort of popped out the other day. She's like, "So I know that you've been sort of mentioning how in our when we get our place that you would like to have your toys in the studio." And I'm like, yeah, I'd love that, but I'm very against the kind of man cave concept. I don't want this like idea of I must have my own little nook in the house where I can have all my nice things, and there they leak out into the real house, and
Yeah, no, it's
havoc.
better to just not have a specified place and just have your shit everywhere, Paul. Honestly, what
No,
are you saying, my friend?
no, no. But what I was trying to say is just that
Man cave is the only way.
yeah, but you see, what I don't like about that is it feels. I know that there's positives and negatives to something like a man cave, and by the way, gentlemen that are out there listening to this, if you have a man cave, awesome, and I'm sure that works for you, and that maybe that's how it works in your relationship. In fact, actually, let us know. When we put this on YouTube, you can let us know in the comments even, because I get to check those. But more importantly, it's kind of a sense of like, I don't want to feel like the house is sort of broken into these like little sections of like, oh, this is your little nook, and then the rest of the house is mine to make nice. I'm all down with Celia making the whole house look nice, but then she said something that was quite golden, and then I kept it there. I didn't argue with it. I did nothing with it. She was just like, I think it's totally cool that you want to keep your toys in the study, but I'm actually totally down for some of the bigger figures in the lounge. She's like, if you want to keep like the big GI Joes, or you want to do something like a cool display that is fixed that people can't mess up, and it looks clean and neat and stylish and whatever's in the lounge or in the house, she's like, by all means do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. you know She's like, she's
Whoa.
totally down for that. She is totally down for that. She's just like, I just don't want it to be something that is going to look messy and messed up. And I'm like, no, I feel the same way. I also don't really want my stuff to be in reach of other people. So yeah. So then I debated maybe doing a thing where I keep my GI Joes in like a kind of a sealed box, like kind of like
Yeah,
perspex
because
case.
there's nothing worse than a display
play
that
with.
accumulates dust. No,
Yes,
no,
exactly.
trying to, yeah. A centerpiece display in your lounge with dust all over it is not a pretty sight, and actually it's pretty bad for allergies. My goodness.
Yeah.
But what are we talking about? Display options and allergies? Come on, Paul. What else you got kicking around, man? Or is that you for
Yes.
new shit?
No, it's I would say that's me for new shit because I'm really happy with my turtles and they really aren't cheap. So it's like,
So he's
yeah.
drawn a line in the sand, ladies and gentlemen. No more new toys for February. Moving over to my side of the fence, courtesy of a very good friend of the show, Range Viper 84, I have finally dipped my toes into the 6-inch classified series, and it's probably the best taste of the line I could have been given, because it is indeed the exclusive Snake Eyes with the additional weapons, the immaculate box presentation with the sort of parchment artwork, uh, the beautiful like foam insets for all the additional parts, and the all black box.
Oof, and that's
Snake Eyes 00. It's presentation
sexy.
marks are off the chart. Okay, that's clearly where your additional coin went, or in this case, Range Viper's additional coin. It turns out he bought 2, and he was like, "I really don't need to." So I guess it was a mixture of like kind of a anticipation of me starting a family gift, but also a little bit of like, let's get Steven off the bench and into the game and get some honest opinions on the 6-inch stuff. Which, I mean, if they all were like this Snake Eyes, this would be a world-beating toy line. This figure is really good. Paint apps are sharp and perfect. Joints are tight and ratchet well. Accessories all sort of interact with him perfectly. Knives sheath properly, the sword sheaths properly, the holster works, the suppressor works. I believe that's not to be taken for granted. I believe that with other Snake Eyes, particularly the mass retail release, there are QC issues. Sometimes the knife sheath is sealed. You can't push the knife all the way in, or you can push it in and it just slides right out too easily. And that's just one component. Like I've heard the mid torso joint is floppy on a lot of versions. So as I say, if everything matched the standard of this release, I don't know. I think design-wise, the Classified is still all over the map for me. This Snake Eyes is perfectly passable in terms of it's got all the cool Snake Eyes signifiers. It doesn't do anything egregiously wrong. I think the mass release version has a weird like red paint dot on his forehead and like just strange choices. And Snake Eyes being all black at a basic 3 3/4 inch scale is fine, is appropriate. But I think all black at a larger scale kind of robs some of that realism. Anyway, I'm casting aspersions on a figure that I don't actually own in favor of a figure that I do. All I can say is my little taste of the Classified series is fantastic. And I think to preserve the memory of this action figure and my first taste, I'm not going to go any further.
Yeah, you're not going to sell it yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you on that one. In fact, there's something I can say, and I'm always scared of like talking about the Classified line. It's weird. I don't know why. I think it's just because there's so much heat around it.
Yeah, you don't want to piss off people who are really doing their damnedest to support the line.
Exactly.
Because there is a future for it if they win. You know, if the naysayers, the people who are bleating about, to hell with this line, I can't even find them anyway, you know, if
Mm.
they get their say, then this will die, which sucks. I don't
It,
want it to die.
no, exactly that. I love the fact that, see, that's the thing. I love the fact that GI Joe is on the toy shelves again. I love the excitement that you can feel on the internet, on different Facebook pages and on Instagram, of people like finding them in the wild and getting them, and I love that. I think that's such an exciting thing, because that's something that we've been missing in this hobby for a few years, because, well, you know why. Um, but something I've got to say about, and I've watched your video, and guys, if you get a chance, if you haven't yet, check out Steven's classified Snake Eyes unboxing vid. It is very cool. It's very sexy and it's very nicely done.
You
And
could just skip to the last third of it for the good stuff. I realized I gabbed on for a good chunk of it, whereas all anyone really wants to see is Snake Eyes in the garden.
we are all our
Come
worst
on.
critics. What you had to say about that figure was actually very cool and very worth listening to. And going through the unboxing was a great experience, especially for me, because I haven't enjoyed some of the unboxings or some of the stuff that I've seen for it. But anyway, that's actually not what's important. What is important is Hasbro, when they did that specific Snake Eyes, definitely made sure the QC thing was 100%, because I I liked my Snake Eyes figure quite a bit until I saw what you were doing with yours. And it's not like one of those, oh, my friend's got one, it's so much better than mine thing. It is actually, mine's joints aren't that strong. And I know that that's kind of a typical thing for the 6-inch figures, but mine's ankles really do suck. I can't keep him like stood up in a pose for a very long time unless I use like some kind of means to peg his feet down or something. There's little things like that. I've also got a slightly weird situation happening with the mid torso, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. It doesn't work. It is a bit like loose, and it does seem somewhat raised, more than it should be, just a little bit, but it's enough to be noticeable. So those kind of things, like they didn't bug me as much until I saw how much quality control was put into the 0-0 release of that Snake Eyes. But that doesn't even bug me as much as the fact that I was starting to sort of be okay with Snake Eyes having funky monkey weapons. But then I saw him with the Uzi in his hands, and that completely messed it up for me. It's crazy, but like seeing Snake Eyes actually hold proper guns does elevate that figure in a big way. And yeah, I don't know if it's Steve's like awesome videography or photography in the unboxing that made me feel that way, but I just looked at it and it was like seeing it
Yeah,
for the first
totally
time.
is.
Totally is. Ladies and gentlemen, the king of humility.
It's not about the toy, it's about how you shoot it.
But yeah,
I
but
can
that's
make
the
you
thing.
want to buy a buzzball.
There we go. But that's right, and anyway.
Hubris would work if I was actually shooting a damn buzzball. Hey, man. I curse my own stagnation when it comes to the channel, but inspiration has been hard to get. Fortunately, Range Viper 84 saved me from that fate. And I think the fire has been reignited.
Oh
But
yeah.
while we are on the subject of Snake Eyes, let's talk a little bit of news. Snake Eyes X Fortnite.
Yeah.
What do you think, Paul? Have you seen images?
I have. I had a friend of mine who plays Fortnite send me a message and go, "Oh, look who's in Fortnite," and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's Snake Eyes." I mean, I sadly for him, I'd seen the news like a day before because we fanboys, so we get that stuff early.
Yeah, but I mean, it's news with a kind of a caveat. This is coming out next year. The action figure,
The action figure, yeah, but the character's already in the game.
which is problematic. If you're banking on what Mark Webber of What's on Joe Mind calls the pounce, the consumer pounce, you've mistimed it. You've missed the
Yeah,
boat. Snake Eyes is a playable character in Fortnite now. If you
yeah,
don't have the product hitting the shelves now, kids aren't going to want to jump on it a year from now. They're not interested in a pre-order. It's like walking through the shopping aisles, seeing a toy that relates to that game that you are crazy about and playing all your free time away on. That's what you are after. Like, anyway, whatever. It's a boneheaded, strange decision. Maybe it wasn't properly planned out. Maybe it was a very last minute thing, and like it's going to take this long to, I don't know, reset the paint masks. I mean, what does it take
Yeah.
to just doll up Snake Eyes in a new skin? Which
See,
looks,
that's
unfortunately, like one commentator put it, looks like he's wearing gym pants. You know, like gym shorts, like Lycra. He's got the kind
yeah.
of like light gray panels, kind of breaking up his pants, which is weird.
But the in-game version really look like that though. That's the weird thing.
Well, they want
Like
to distinguish it from previous Snake Eyes releases to incentivize people who just want to buy the figure for a variation, who aren't necessarily motivated by the Fortnite stuff. But then you're getting all the kind of the Fortnite cartoony style weapons.
Yeah. So that's like the thing, right? So Fortnite, as you've been like talking, I'm starting to think that no, actually, I think this was quite well planned because they've released the characters in game, and then they've got the current Snake Eyes on the shelves. So kids are going to go towards that, and I think the only people that are going to go nuts for the Fortnite version are the Fortnite collectors, you know, the crossover collectors, the crossover fans. I actually think that this is more not this is more of a ploy to get GI Joe fans into Fortnite than to get Fortnite fans into GI Joe. I think that at least that's their opening move. I don't think that's the whole strategy, but I think that's definitely their opening move. That's what
Well, it's kind of the only way this makes sense. Yeah, to get that cross pollination, to get the, I don't know, a few 100,000 GI Joe fans that make up the entire core of GI Joe fandom these days to play Fortnite all of a sudden. Yeah, no, I buy that, Paul. It's a drop in the ocean of like Fortnite
it's
numbers.
nation, you know. But and then on the other hand, you know, Fortnite has been flirting with GI Joe-esque looking skins for a while now as well. I mean, I keep forgetting the character's name, but it's the one that looks a lot like Firefly. Or when I say looks a lot like, it's the one character they gave a Firefly repaint to. So he's got Firefly's, you know, it's gray and dark gray kind of camo,
The
and he's
name
also
escapes me as well.
like some kind of
Havoc.
oh, there we go. And he's also a demolition specialist, and that, you know, that kind of thing. They've been teasing the fans with that kind of thing. And I mean, we've even seen those toys. I mean, the reason I know that toy exists is because I've seen it on GI Joe chat pages or GI Joe pages. God, I sound like such an old person when I say chat pages. Get off my lawn. Yeah, like, you know what I mean, right? So I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to play up. They're building it slowly, and in a weird way, it feels like they're kind of making the GI Joe game that people do kind of want, because if Fortnite was completely reskinned as GI Joe, it'd be awesome. And don't forget,
yeah, parachuting onto Cobra Island, hells to the air.
building up little fortresses, doing all kinds of cool stuff, having special roles, different characters having like sniper
Well,
roles.
if the fortresses resembled a bivouac or a Cobra bunker, hey,
Yeah. Hey, there you go. And you know, the first time I saw Fortnite actually like running in front of me was when we visited Greg Crockett in the States. His son was playing Fortnite on the
geez,
TV.
Paul, as a gamer, you must have consciously avoided playing Fortnite.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And on that
I
tip,
don't.
just a quick side note about gaming. I'm currently back on that PlayStation Mini you gifted me 2 years ago, and Final Fantasy VII, my friend. I'm
Oh, cool.
finally playing it. It's a lovely snapshot of like where gaming, well, the pinnacle of gaming, was in 1997, and I do recall Rob playing the heck out of it. So I'm kind of remiss that I didn't pay more attention when he was playing it, because it could have been something we enjoyed together. But by reliving it now, I kind of can reach back in my mind to those days and kind of imagine, yeah, he's right beside me on the couch, coaching me on what best magic to use against that bad guy or what option to take.
Oh, that's cool.
Mind-boggling. Role-playing games are, it's a gaming genre that I should love to bits, but I have absolutely no prior experience with.
In specific, I mean, you're playing Final Fantasy, which is technically classified as a JRPG or Japanese RPG, which is a very different flavor from like the Western RPGs. Because I mean, have you played Diablo?
No.
Well, Diablo 1 and 2 are, well, I would say more Diablo 1 and 2 than Diablo 3, but those are more role-playing than I would say.
Aren't they called dungeon crawlers? Sorry to split hairs on you, Paul. You are the gaming guy. Yeah.
No, you're right. It is a dungeon crawler, but the first ever Western role-playing games were dungeon crawlers, because you're looking at, when I say first ever, some of the most popular dungeon crawling games were like Eye of the Beholder and all those great sort of first person, like they were first person, and you went through a dungeon and you had your party, and each party member was assigned to a key, and then you could assign the magic to them, and then you would sort of do combos and stuff with them. But then that evolved into Ultima and all those things, which sort of defined the true Western RPG. And then it sort of ended up that Western role-playing, the thing that sort of distinguished Western role-playing games from Japanese role-playing games is that Japanese role-playing games primarily, almost exclusively, used a turn-based combat system, a randomized turn-based combat system, which was then sort of refined and changed over the years by Final Fantasy, because every Final Fantasy is different and has its own unique little sort of gimmick or game design or something to make it interesting to play. And then Western RPGs evolved in the other direction, and we started getting like Baldur's Gate and all that good stuff. Anyway, I'm taking everybody down that.
Thank you for that, Paul. I guess I got what I asked for. But once again, thank you, bro. That PlayStation Mini is the gift that keeps on giving.
I'm so happy to hear it, man. It's actually funny that you mentioned PlayStation Mini, because I have been playing a game.
And he's off again.
No, I've been playing a game recently. I got it really, really cheap. It was actually a Christmas gift from my folks. And it's the Resident Evil 3 remake. And that takes me all the way back to PlayStation 1 days. I love Resident Evil 2 and 3. Especially if I...
all of the other remakes? Do you have two?
I do, yes. I have I have the remake of 1 on GameCube, and then I bought it again on the Wii. And then I bought it again when they released it on PS4, the HD version. And then I got Resident Evil 2 remake, and I got Resident Evil 3 remake. Yeah. And they've been fantastic. I really love them. I feel like they're missing something, but what they're missing, they make up for with their own flavor. So it's really great. But I would never tell somebody to play those instead of the originals. I'd say if you can, play them both. Because
well, that's not really a compromise at all, Paul.
Compromise. You shouldn't. That's
you
the thing. It's so good.
Play one.
Play both. If I had to only play one, it's tricky because I would say if you had to only play one, the original Resident Evil 2, I still think is a stronger game than the remake of 2. I think.
But you're comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, yes and no. Game. Yeah, because Resident Evil 2 remake adds so much in the form of like visual fidelity. So you got the whole game's visual atmosphere it takes the creepiness up to like 11. It actually adds some scare factor, and the game is also quite
more accurate to say that you're either a retro gamer or you're a current gamer, and that will determine which one you get more enjoyment out of, because the controls, the visuals, the pacing, like Resident Evil 2, the original, the dialogue is always going to be laughable. Even though it was better than the first game, it still has these awkward like pauses. But you know that it's so stilted.
See, but it is definitely. But remember that Resident Evil 1, that was done by accident. And so many critics actually applauded that and enjoyed that and saw it as a feature rather than a bug, that Capcom consciously did that. And that also exists in the Japanese version. It's actually an intentional thing that they do. They actually overplay it. And if you watch any of the CG Resident Evil movies, you'll see that their CG characters also kind of overact a little bit. It's weird. And they take that away. Yeah, it's deliberate. So they take that away from Resident Evil 5, for example, and it makes they take that side away, and then they add a whole other supernatural element, which kind of messes up the balance a bit. It's a weird thing to put your finger on. And on the argument, and I know we have to get off this, but on the argument of is Resident Evil 2 retro versus the remake, which one is the stronger game? And I understand for the vintage gamer, 2 offers a lot because of that vintage appeal, but 2 does actually offer a lot in terms of puzzles and interesting game design quirks, which Resident Evil 2 remake takes out. They took out that Z swap system. They took out a few little interesting quirks that you definitely feel are missing if you've played the original. So I kind of feel like, and then the reason I initially, my knee-jerk reaction was like, play both the old and the new one, because the new one is very self-aware and throws in a few great sort of like tricks for you. So if you've played the classic, you're expecting certain things, and the remakes sort of subvert those expectations. And it's not obvious stuff either, which is cool. So that's kind of why it's almost like playing the vintage one would enhance your remake experience. But the remakes are great. They're great games. I'd say get the third one on special, or if you can, buy it with a voucher or whatever, because I think it's a bit expensive for the amount of game that you get, because it is substantially shorter than its PlayStation 1 predecessor, sadly. Anyway, with that,
and thank you to our gaming correspondent, Paul Lobsher. Now, back to the show. We're going to play a little game. It's a game called Steven Asks, and Paul answers.
Poorly. Paul answers poorly. Paul forgets.
How do you spell Snake Eyes?
SNAKE. I want to call it a dash. EYES.
Okay, so you add the hyphen.
Yeah.
Ha. Curious. Henry Golding interviewed Larry Harmer, and when asked if Snake Eyes has the hyphen or not, Larry said, it does.
Ah.
Huh. Interesting. The hyphen was absent in Snake Eyes' first file card. It was inserted on his V2 Commando file card, V2 Ninja Commando file card, and then I think has remained absent. In comic book lettering, it's also absent. I think there are probably some instances of it being re-included, but for the most part, Snake Eyes has no hyphen. But if Granddaddy Harmer says it does, I suppose that's the final word on the subject. I always just thought like, yeah, because Spider-Man has a hyphen, and that is how you spell Spider-Man, and spelling it without the hyphen or making it Spider-Man one word is incorrect. That it sticks in one's mind that like, yeah, include the punctuation. Always include the punctuation. Otherwise it's wrong.
Right?
A hyphen, no, it's just making a compound noun. Snake Eyes. It's 2 different terms that make up, a concept. That is, if you roll a Snake Eyes, it's the two single studs.
Okay, no, cool. Because like I heard something funny on Orange is the New Black, and the one character they always calls Spider-Man Spider-Man, and then she comes around and she's like, God, I don't even know who you are anymore. And it's Spider-Man. He's not a Jewish dentist. And I was like, whoa, that's a hectic line.
Okay, time for question number 2. If you were to devise a playmotion feature on Scoop, how would you shoot it?
That's a cool question. Bot recently just take your pats on the back where you can get them, okay? Jeez,
hey,
Sheila.
I'm clawing myself back, baby. This is how I re-energize. I let the ego expand.
Yeah. Cool. So Bart actually sent me this awesome comic. When I say sent, he emailed it to me because we're cool like that. And the whole comic has to do with Scoop in it, and it's actually really good. It's actually one of the first GI Joe comics that has like drawn my attention. I read like 2 pages, and I was like, "Oh crap, I have work to do." I would want to shoot it first person, like shoot it through the eyes of Scoop. Like you don't see him. Like that would be really interesting. Everybody like recognizes him and knows he's there, but like he's behind the camera. He's not in front of the camera, and I think that would be an interesting artistic element. That's how I would like to do it.
But okay, Scoop is self-sufficient in that he's got all the camera equipment, but like he's also posited as kind of an anchorman or a correspondent. Is he not supposed to be giving
A
on
blow-by
camera? Yeah. I
Well,
get
this
what
is
you're saying. Like, we can always be using like the found footage technique. So you've always got it. Would you like it to be in a 4:3 crop?
yeah, in the sort of
So
TV
old
aspect
school
of,
TV aspect ratio, yeah. A little bit of grain to it because it's on VHS. What else? It can have the battery life and the date. Yeah, it's a great way of telegraphing the date. Like it'll be like
but like seriously,
7 February 1989.
yeah, well there you go, right? But here's the thing. Like I know found footage and all that is like really overdone. I know that. But if there's one character that really actually deserves to wear the mantle of a found footage kind of episode, it's Scoop. And I would even play it like that whole episode, like if we did a play motion or if a play motion was done like that, it wouldn't even be real time. It would like be like Hawk and the rest of the Joes sort of analyzing that footage, or somebody in the pit that analyzes this footage, puts a big like black cokey mark on it, like something like redacted, puts it in like a black kind of bag and shoves it into some kind of drawer that goes into like a file cabinet that is into some warehouse that's full of file cabinets or something. Like that's how I would do it, because Scoop is just not. I just Because of the kind of toy he is, the kind of character he is, that just makes the most sense to me. Sorry, that's yeah.
So you'd mix it up. There would be the found footage components and also the kind of we'd expand the frame to be the regular 16:9, and we'd have these sections where they're like talking about this mission that Scoop went on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I mean, and now you've got the hamster wheels in my head seriously turning, because now I'm like thinking it could be like a Black Mirror style anthology thing, So there doesn't just have to be one Scoop episode. Like it could be through the eyes of the lens or something. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. You got my answer.
Okay, just technically, you say that Scoop is always behind the camera.
Yeah.
Does he never mount the camera on a tripod and give a report? We get to see his face.
I just think I've just, as I said in the last podcast, I recently got myself a camera and whatever, and I've got a tripod now. And I must say, like setting up a tripod, I know it's an easy thing. I'm not like a dab hand like photographer, but I kind of feel like as soon as you set up a tripod, like, you've turned your back to something and you turn around again and then it's changed, So like, I wouldn't have had this perspective if I didn't own a proper tripod. And I say proper, I mean, this thing was like $100, but it's just, yeah.
That's $10, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. Paul, he's always in search of a bargain. Yo.
Well, that's why I bought it. I was like, oh, it's cheap. I mean, it's $100. If it's crap, it was $100. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Steve asks, Paul answers. Of the 2 flag point vehicles,
oh god,
which
here we go,
is your favorite?
2 flag point vehicles.
It's handy that G.I. Joe always kind of categorized its releases almost into these tiers of value. Like flag points offer an opportunity to kind of very quickly see what was at a similar price point.
Wow, I always thought the price tag did that.
Okay, a wise guy. Well, price tags are harder to come by than at least the flag points on the box. So we can kind of get a cross section of what things were grouped in kind of value tiers. But okay, you're right. Price tags, hilarious.
Yeah, I've
Would
just
you
never
like
seen.
a quick rundown of what is what in the 2 flag point
Just give me an
arena?
example of one. Give me 1 or 2 examples. I'm pretty sure I can deduce the rest.
Okay,
So,
well, in 82, the jump and the ram
okay.
were 2 flag points. The Cobra Fang was worth 2 flag points. Moving forward in time, 84, we had the Cobra Claw. No, hang on, that was all one. 84, we
Yeah.
had the Cobra Asp, the Skyhawk. Zartan
Okay.
was only worth 2 flag points. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Whereas the Sarge in 86 with the Triple T was worth 3. So he's out of consideration, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The Armadillo, the Cobra Ferret, the Silver Mirage.
How about a
the
Fang?
Devilfish. Yeah, you want the Fang?
How about a Fang 2 or a
Fang 2,
Pogo?
correct. In 89, the Fang 2 was worth 2 points.
Well, I've got to say,
The Mud Fighter, the Pulverizer. I know you're just dying to put that in your top 3.
yeah, fuck.
The
I could do top. I could do top 3. Fuck yeah,
You
already
do
done
top 3. Fuck yeah.
Awesome.
The Badger, the attack cruiser was worth 2 points. I thought that was a little bit more substantial than that, but I guess the designers knew, or at least the pricing guys knew that this thing sucks. The Septic Tank.
2 flag points. Really?
Yeah, true
Wow.
story.
Does that mean the hiss is 2 flag points then as well?
No, the hiss was not. Hey, we've just encountered an anomaly.
Dun dun dun. Well, it's actually easy because then it doesn't muddy up my top 3 here. I'd say my top 3 would be, and you're gonna laugh. I think you're expecting this. The Locust. The Fang 2. And believe it or not, the Pogo. I really love that damn toy.
And you'd be right, the Pogo is indeed a 2 flag point toy. Why the Cobra Fang 2 over the Fang?
Because I had the Fang 2 as a kid. I've got great memories of it. I did a lot with it. And the Fang 1, I think, appeals. Although I thought it was cool when I was a kid, because David had one. It was just always a small helicopter, whereas the Fang 2 was this like futuristic small flying thing. And it was, I love that the rotors could like, go vertical and horizontal, and I like I just dug it more. It just worked for me more. And it was nice to hold as well.
I think your first point was your best point, or apart from the nostalgia thing, that the Fang is just a shrunken down helicopter. Whereas the Fang 2, at least it's stepping so far outside the bounds of a helicopter, you can't even call it a helicopter anymore. It's a tilt rotor. And it's something altogether unique. So the scaling doesn't matter. It's like, if you'd never seen an Osprey, which we hadn't at that stage, this is its own thing. It's not a real thing that's been shrunken down and has a giant man awkwardly sitting mere inches below the beating blades. Though, let's be honest, the Fang 2 is just as deadly. You don't want to let your arms swing out too wide. Let's just say.
Yeah, it can't be good. And if you took some stray fire to a prop or something, I mean, you're right there.
Let's face it, no Cobra vehicle was premised on survivability.
No, that's true.
You also nominated the Pogo. Need I remind you? But I think we're going to draw a line under this Steve asks and Paul answers section in favor of moving on to our letters section. Shall we enter Postbox the Pit and see what love letters we've received in the past week? These all come from the YouTube channel, actually, and one from Instagram. But we'll get YouTube out of the way firstly. Some assembly required, part 4, ready for action. I'd like to check out the comics and the story, says JB. The shop shows that copies are sold out. I wouldn't mind getting a signed copy from the team that put it together. Is there somewhere online we can read it? Paul, do you know where people can get copies of the Action Force comic book?
I believe I just got an email from Bobby Valor the other day, just updating all of the guys that have picked up some Action Force figures from him. He did say that the comics there's a new print run of the comics, and they will be coming to the States fairly soon. I think the best way to do it is to go directly to valorverse.com, his website, where he's actually got a shop page on that, and you can actually buy the comics directly from there. So you can support you can support the creator directly, and I'm pretty sure if you shoot them a message and maybe find out about signing options and how much that would cost, I'm pretty sure they would help you out with that.
And can you purchase digital copies from the online store?
That I do not know about at all. I haven't seen anything like that.
Well, Bobby, if you're listening, there's the gap, buddy. I guess, maybe there's some trepidation about digi copies just yet because, piracy.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, but the thing is, I always find with like something like Action Force, you want to support the creator.
True.
And so, like, I mean, I know people. I mean, okay, I'll speak for myself here. I love this band called Freeze Pop, and they recently released their album as a digital only album because of the world. And it was so nice. I bought it twice because they're completely independent. So all the sales from their album go straight to them. And the album was so cheap. It was like $11. So I bought myself one, and then they did a second one where they made it like a Bandcamp Friday, and they made it quite a bit cheaper. And I think the second one was like $6 or something. It was like a super special low price. And I bought it from them because I wanted to support them with it. I still listen to them on Spotify, but I bought the album to support them. So I think that's kind of like where digital indie comics are a different animal. Whereas people would be like, yeah, if I can get a digital version and support the creator, then why not? Then that's a cool thing to do. So yeah, but it is a gray area still. But yeah.
Sorry, JD. I guess that's not really much of an answer, but stand by. I'm sure Bobby is addressing the digital market very shortly. I mean, come on, that's the easiest way to get this stuff these days, man. Don't have to go down to no store, just money in the bank. I'm Derek Jed on YouTube asks, is there a site that offers dimensions for the wood base supports? I would like to avoid building mine just to outline it. Good point, Derek Jed. And I have emailed him on the subject, but anyone out there with lingering questions on the USS Flag base that we built, just send me a DM. I will send you everything that I've got. The best way, I suppose, is to use our official Gmail account. And that's a real South African hero, all one word, at gmail.com. And yeah, I can send you various pictures and measurements that I've cobbled together. But the flag base, you may or may not know, was something we did on the fly. It was very much a case of like shaping the wood with the flag built on it and raising it using supports that were kind of just loosely based on where the trusses were situated and those dimensions. So it kind of evolved with time. It wasn't something that I drew a plan up of first and then set about making my cuts. So to now kind of invent plans after the fact, you're better off just making the same attempts as I did, really, just kind of winging it. But as I say, I do have pictures, I do have some measurements, and I'll gladly part with them. So shoot me a message at a real South African hero at gmail.com. Hush HG 2000 on our Defiant unboxing says 444 for the unboxing. Save yourself the corniness and skip. Thanks, Hush HG 2000. Unfortunately, with G.I. Joe Berg, you're always going to get a really thick slice of corniness, my friend.
Oh, you're going to get the cheese big time, dude. We
hammed it up because, I don't know, man. You got to do
you
more than just
once.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah. That Defiant was such a team effort in acquiring. There were interested parties, and we had to. we had to capture the moment and give it some reverence. The moment itself, I think that's priceless. To,
Yeah.
to to have this level of expectation and then to unveil a broken defiant, like, oh man, I'm almost grateful that it was broken. It is that much more of a memorable moment
Right.
because of the utter devastation of it. I mean, it soured me on collecting for a while because I was like, I can't do this. I can't keep entrusting these incredible toys to the post. This is not a viable way of doing things.
Yeah,
But
but
hey,
what cut
if
really
you do it
worked,
right, you should only get a Defiant once, right?
right? And
Tick.
and if I can just like add in one thing there quickly, all of that stuff is very real. I was outside doing Tai Chi, and Steven sort of like popped up, and I looked at him, and he's like, give me that look. And I'm like,
It's
oh,
time.
cool. It's time. And guys, you must understand that like this thing had been sitting there because if memory serves, we just got back to Cape Town and you had to get yourself ready to go to a wedding or something, to a friend of yours' wedding. So you basically, like, that flag sat, I mean, that Defiance sat in its box in the house with the three of us within the same like geographical location for like, what is it, 14 hours without being opened. You can imagine we were hungry. We were dying to get in that. And we were all goofy and delirious with excitement. And Rob was grumpy because we did really wake him up like that.
Shit. Didn't you jump on the bed?
You jumped on the bed.
I don't think that bed could support my weight. Uh, anyways, on the classified Snake Eyes unboxing and review video, Fun School Roni from India says, "Great review. Just bought mine. Will arrive in couple of months. Can't wait." So, Paul, on the topic of postal services, South Africa and India are in parity, my friend. He's waiting on one that will arrive in a couple of months. Ladies and gentlemen, the first and third world divide is real.
It's real. I'm still waiting for stuff that Jim sent me last year in September.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What a world.
What a world. Like Jim, Bart, and Dustin have all sent me stuff, and it's still like in a South African post office limbo. So
Aaron Stepien on Search and Rescue Episode 3, Hello 2021. I mean, some assembly required, Episode 3, Hello 2021. He says, when it came to the Dreadnoks in the Marvel canon, even when I originally read them, I was pretty sure that chocolate-covered donuts and grape soda was Larry using code. What do you say to that, Paul? Did you read it as them peddling meth?
can I like, you know what? I think maybe I was just more of a naive child back then, and I never thought deeper than that. To be really
What,
honest.
you didn't get any meth at age 8?
Yeah, man.
Joburg's confusing me now. I thought things were rough up there.
Yeah, I was still in the burbs, dude. But yeah, yeah. No, like, I mean, I suppose I think when I was like a teenager and I sort of read that, I would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, that's just them trying to say that without getting into trouble with the comics code. But when I was younger than that,
Yeah, Karen.
no, but when I was younger, I was totally like, okay, they're like grape soda and donuts, cool. Turtles like pizza.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's the Ninja Turtles slash Ewoks, which I mean I believe was Hasbro's mandate. We want teddy bear creatures on the bad guys team. Anyway,
Stormtroopers.
I never made the association myself, much as I wish I had, until much later, until I saw the first season of True Detective, where they've got a ultra scary biker gang that are like involved in criminal enterprises, and Matt McConaughey's character has to infiltrate this, and it's scary. It's genuinely scary. That's when I developed a respect for the Dreadnoks. That they are scary dudes. They are bad dudes. They don't live by any code. They don't wear uniforms. They do as they please, and they probably are involved in all sorts of illicit things. So, and they're a murderous lot. So, you know, you can give the Dreadnought, you can elevate their seriousness And when you do that, yes, chocolate-covered donuts becomes substances. Grape soda becomes hard liquor. Yeah,
Or meth.
that's yeah, exactly right.
But also, just on by that token, I mentioned that on some assembly required,
Ah, very good.
where we were sort of the topic of dreadnoughts had come up, and I think that's why this gentleman had mentioned it, because I actually said, like, I've always liked the dreadnoughts, and I thought they were really cool, but then you played around with that idea. Like, I was like, Rob hates them, and Steven like has this whole like biker gang kind of thing idea for them, and it's just really crazy, and I dig them even more because of that. And it's
Look, there's
true.
a moment in Blazing Sand where things get about as rapey as, as I'm willing to let a G.I. Joeberg playmotion get, where they've captured Lady J, and there's a sense that they're going to do some unspeakable things to her before they bury her.
Mm.
Like that's the kind of people the Dreadnoks can be if you push your mind away from this kind of the Sunbow characterization. Anyway, let's close
Anyway,
out with Rai Rai on Instagram, who says, "Happy New Year and congratulations on the baby." Well, thanks, Rai Rai. He's not here yet, but yeah, I'm looking over at the oven, and that bun is rising nicely. Anyway, he
so
says
the other just looked back at you with,
a skull.
yeah,
No, what is she doing? I
ignoring
don't
you.
know. She was very noisily making breakfast just now, which is the explanation of the oral phenomenon that you no doubt might have heard, dear listener.
I
But
just thought it was Jurassic Park. Carrying on.
back to old Rai Rai's comment. Um, I saw the Snake Eyes review. He is a great figure. What is your opinion on the 3 3/4 inch retro line? I'm thinking of getting Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. They would be my first Joes in a long time. I responded to this, but Paul, if you want to take a crack at it, what are your opinions on the retro line?
If you haven't been in GI Joe for a while, you couldn't you couldn't do better than those two. Like, I mean, retro or not, those are two of the best examples of like where that scale in terms of its quality and articulation and design, that's like one of the best things you could get, honestly. Like, that's what makes the retro line cool. If you've got it already, it's like, okay, but if you haven't, dude, get them. They're great. They're great designs. They're great toys.
And if you do have them already, the superior packaging is with this new release. So maybe these are, if you're the kind of guy who's going to dabble in a Mins on card collection, and you do currently have the 50th anniversary release, or is it the POC releases? Yeah, those
POC.
cards for all their interesting quirks are a lot more forgettable. You know, the 2-pack boxes and the POC cards, which
Oh, I love that art, but I hear where you're coming. I know where you're
yeah,
coming from.
the art is great, but I mean, in terms of just giving you the nostalgia buzz, if you want to have a Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow carded, the retro collection puts that classic artwork and presentation within your reach. You don't have to hemorrhage money for a
And,
vintage carded version.
and
I'm sure
why?
those two are the most expensive.
Actually, why stop there? Get yourself a Scarlet as well, because I think that Scarlet head sculpt makes up for the sins of all the other Scarlet head sculpts, and it's a great version of the toy.
Surprise,
Great,
surprise,
good
ladies
enough.
and gentlemen. Paul is advocating you buy more toys.
I can't help it, man.
No doubt. I think we're going to close out the show there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the G.I. Joeberg madness. Things
Yeah,
are going to be pared down for the next little while. I think Paul and I both agree that this is how we are going to conduct our G.I. Joeberg conversations in the future. We might have a guest rotating spot, but for the
yeah.
most part, it's a weekly catch up with two old friends. And I had to come back. I feel compelled not only by personal reasons, but also by the fact that, like, you guys reached out in numbers and touched me and said, "Hey, man, like, we get that things are weird and things are different, but we really enjoy this. We hope you do too. And when you're ready to fill our audio canals with all that G.I. Joe Berg goodness again, hey, here comes more hubris. We're ready to receive. So
Hey.
have it all, have it fill you up.
Well,
Okay.
that's why we did.
Getting
That's
weird.
why I did. No, I hear you, man. But that's why I did some assembly required, because I wanted to keep the flame burning.
Yeah,
And
and you couldn't record a podcast or two, Paul. You were
well, we did
ignoring
them as
our
live streams.
core audience. No, this is different. A podcast is a different beast. You gotta sometimes just stick with the audio so people can, commute or drive or do gardening.
Okay, well then
stuff.
I'm gonna speak to Jim and Bart and see if we can do an audio only some assembly required podcast. And I do warn you guys.
You don't
before
have to,
I go,
Paul. You don't have to,
the
because
G.I.
we're
Joe
back.
Berg's back.
That's right. Parting shot, if you guys have not checked out Action Robot Punch's channel, they've got some great father and son fun. They have done some playmotion videos, but most recently, because they've had some fresh snowfall, they've published a video called Ice Viper Pursuit.
Ooh.
I'm envious, man. They got to do stuff that I wanted to do with the snow that never materialized in China. But cool little action sequence with a snow wolf, cobra wolf, and polar battle bear. Good stuff. Check them out.
Good.
That's Action Robot Punch.
And before you walk out the door, I've got a question I need to ask you on this podcast. And it is a little bit of a tie-in thing, but I'm curious, how would you feel about us doing a podcast with an audience but not live? So this is how I would do it. I would have our Patreon, because this would only be for the patrons, and they would come in and chill out and be in the podcast with us, and they can comment and whatever's, but yeah, they would just be there live. So, if the podcast does run a little bit long, and, sometimes we do have to edit some stuff, they get to enjoy the full unedited, like they're flies on the wall with us. They're recon drones.
Okay. Well, hey, man. Far be it from me to deny a good old Patreon punt. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for as little as $3 a month. Nothing. What's that? A cup of coffee? Buy us a cup of coffee. You too can become a G.I. Joe Berg patron.
Yeah.
And be granted access to this live podcast. Hey, I'm all for it, Paul.
Cool.
It's the show as usual, but with live comments and intrigue.
Intrigue, yeah. And then I've also got another surprise for the patrons. I don't want to reveal what it is, but it does have to do with it does have a participation angle to it as well. All will be revealed very soon. I've nearly finished the graphics on them, so that's all I'm going to say. Cool.
Tantalizing stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 184 of G.I. Joe Berg, allegedly. I'm just going off of what you made the SteamYard session number, Paul. So thanks for that.
The last one was 183, so this one's 184.
184. Yep, we'll be cracking 200 pretty soon. Maybe we'll do something special. Hey, who knows? But this is our 10th year of podcasting, by my count.
Can you handle it?
So, G.I. Joe Berg turns 10 in October. So let's make a bumper year out of it, my friend. It's good to be back. Yo, Joe Berg, everybody.
Yo, Joe. Berg.
Berg.